In this video, I'm going to show how to use the T-Splines version 2.3 for Rhino plugin to make a organic architectural form. And the process that we'll go through a couple steps. We'll lay out the general shape of the form with the NURBS curve, make a NURBS surface, convert that to T-Splines, and then use the T-Splines commands to add some complexity to the surface and make a more interesting organic form inside of Rhino. Let's go ahead and get started. And you can see here I have this NURBS curve. And I've just very simple curve. And I'm going to create a pipe around this curve inside Rhino. And I honestly can never remember where the Rhino pipe command is. Oh, here it is right here in the solids menu. So let's run the pipe command. Select this curve. And I'm going to say cap equals none. And then I'll just add some radii here. So my start radius, I'll have that be 0.4. Let's see, 0.4. End radius, I'll have again as 0.4. I'm just going to add some other radii here in the middle to make it more interesting. So I think around here I'll add a point with a radius of 4 and maybe a radius of 2 around here. And you can see what this has done is just made a surface, a piped surface that goes through those radii. Now this is a NURB surface, and one way that I can figure that out is here's my T-Splines toolbars. You'll also see T-Splines up here in the drop-down menu. Again, T-Splines is a plugin for Rhino that you can get at tsplines.com. But one of the features that T-Splines brings is what we call a heads-up display, and you can activate that by clicking on the translate icon. And then here it will show you, among a lot of other information, what you have selected. It says this is just one surface that I have selected. So what I'm going to do is convert this surface to a T-spline surface. And converting from NURBS to T-splines is just a push button conversion. I just click on the convert to T-splines button, and it will convert that to T-splines. Before I do that conversion, I'm going to undo this. One thing I always do before I convert from NURBS to T-splines is rebuild my NURB surface, just so that I have a more uniform surface before I go to T-splines. So again, I'm not sure where the rebuild command is, so I just type that in here in the command line, rebuild. And my new point count that I want for T-splines is a U of 20 and a V point count of 4. I'll change it to degree 3 by 3. And you can see that just gives me a much simpler surface. And then when you convert to T-splines, anytime that it's a untrimmed degree 3 NURBS, then it is an exact conversion. So my surface is not changing at all going to T-splines at this point. So now that I have my basic shape, let's go ahead and use my T-splines tools to add some more geometry and some more details here. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is come in and fill in this hole. And we do that in T-splines with the command called fill hole. So I'm just going to click on the fill hole command and click on the edge of this border. And it's actually just going to fill that in. So now that's a smooth surface there. Do that again up here. And now we've got a solid T-spline. So if I select this, we can see it's a T-spline surface, and it's watertight now. We've closed those edges. You can see it's kind of pinched up here. One thing I like to do after I do commands like fill hole is run this command called make uniform, which you can go into by right-clicking on it at layout, and that will just kind of relax the surface and make it a little bit better behaved here at the end. So the type of shape that I want to make, I'll get by kind of repeating these arm structures across here, and to do that will involve some duplicating, copying, welding, and when I do commands like that in T-Splines, I like to work in box mode, and you can access box mode by clicking on the smooth toggle and hitting enter. Also by hitting the tab key if you have your hotkeys enabled. If you enable your hotkeys, you can hit the tab key and that will toggle between smooth mode and box mode. And it's just two ways of viewing the T-spline. The box mode just kind of shows you the control polygon, and I just think it's easier to work this way sometimes because you can see the topology better. So I'm going to go to box mode and change over to select my faces by clicking this blue text. And actually, let me deselect that curve. I'm just going to select these faces, and there's a command called the tsDuplicateFaces command. Let's click on that and change my manipulator to translate. You can see what that's done. It's just made a copy of these faces. Let me go back to smooth mode by clicking smooth toggle, selecting these. And you can see what I've got here. Actually, it looks like I did not select all my edges, because all my faces to duplicate, because I have a hole right here. So I guess I have two options. One, I can go back and select all those faces again and do a better job, or I can just do the fill hole command. So let's see if that works. Just fill hole. There we go. Got that fixed right up. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to have this join in here. There's a couple different ways of joining up T-spline surfaces. The one I'll use right now, I think I'll use the weld command. So let me do the smooth toggle back just so I can be looking at the control polygon. We call this box mode. And I'm just gonna, let's see, change this mode to, let's see, object mode, so I can select this whole object and move it down. And I basically want to weld these control points to make this come together here. So to do that, first I'm going to go back to face mode and just select this face and delete it. We're going to want, anyway, we don't want to have non-rectangular or non-manifold topology here. So we've got this hole here now, and to use the weld command, the way the weld command works is you select, oh, looks like I already had some faces, some I just selected. Let me undo that. You select one point, and then the next point that you select, it will move the first point to the second point. So let's do that again. Weld the first point to the second point. Do that again. Move this first point to, can't really see, I'm just going to do a marquee selection. And assume we'll grab that point here. The other way to use weld, by the way, is if you have both points selected at the start and then hit weld, it will move them both so they meet halfway. But in this case, that's not what I want. I want to move this one to this one. So now we've got that all welded. Let's go back. Let's run our smooth toggle again and see how this meets up. So take a look at this. Just by welding those control points together, now I have this really smooth transition coming in here from the one part of the model to the next one. And not only that, I can still move these control points and change how that flows. That's just by welding those vertices together. So I've got that hooked in. I'm just going to go ahead um, and repeat that with a couple more times. So we'll go back to face mode. Select these faces, and go ahead and do duplicate faces again. Pull this off. And now what I'm going to want to do is weld this into here. So I have a couple options. I can do that same weld thing, or I can try out our bridge command. So let's do a smooth toggle and see where we're at. Maybe I'll move this down here. If you drag these discs, it will constrain the movement to that plane. So you can kind of move it around. So I want this to kind of meet out, come out of this area. I think actually Weld's going to be my best choice again. So let's go to Faces, delete this, and again go to my control points and just weld these control points. So U to U, and you can see after my first weld there's a red dot, and if at this point I tried to go to smooth mode, it wouldn't let me go to smooth mode because you can't. If there's just one vertex welded, you can't display that smooth surface. But once I've got another vertex welded, that red goes away and we're fine. So weld again, and then a shortcut in Rhino is I can just hit the space bar to repeat the last command and get that welded in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to smooth mode and see what we've got. Okay, look at that. Another really smooth transition just coming out of that. Again, we can still update that. And it looks like I wasn't super careful with how this was looking over here. But the nice thing is that with T-Splines I can just grab these faces and just move them out and kind of shape my model. It doesn't make it any more complex if I move it like that. Do this again, and this time we'll do a slightly different way to join these up. So I'm going to duplicate these faces. Maybe I'll duplicate this one also. Pull them on out. And just to get something slightly different, here's what I'm going to do here. First I'm going to fill this hole in so we get kind of a smooth end there. Now I'm going to try another way of connecting, and this is called the bridge command. And just to make sure I'm bridging the right way, I'm going to do a smooth toggle so I can more easily see what my topology is like. And let's see, grab this to kind of move it down so I know where I'm going to go. What the bridge command does is it can bridge between both edges and faces and just create a new surface in between those. So here's this bridge command. It just says select groups of faces to bridge. So I'll select this one and go to this one. And I'll hit enter. And I get some arrows that kind of show me the seam and the direction, so I can kind of click on vertices to align this differently. I can turn on a preview so I can see what it's going to look like. But the important thing is just to have the arrows lined up in the same direction in the same location so you get that winding correctly. I'll go ahead and hit enter. And you can see that's just made a bridge between those two parts of my model. So I'll go back to smooth mode. You can see the difference, the difference between a bridge and welding. So you can see here where I welded it, it just really collapsed the two geometries together. When you bridge, you're actually adding a ring of faces. And so just depending on on your application, one might be better than the other, but they're both good ways of combining geometry. Let me just finish this off by doing this one more time. Duplicate, and I'll just do one more bridge this time. Pull this down, fill my hole, and I'll do the bridge in smooth mode this time. So bridge from this face to this face, and go ahead and hit enter. And here's my bridge. Okay, so here we've got this architectural form, and we've just been to this point just trying to put the topology together. But when you're working with T-Splines, you can at any point you can come in and shape it, and not only move things around but rotate them, just to kind of get your shape the way, I mean, just really explore shapes. Let me just hide that curve, get that out of the way. But you can also use the scale manipulator to make things larger. You can change the pivot point of the scale manipulator. So set the pivot to like right here. That way we can scale out from there. I'll do that again here. Again, the selection, I'm holding on the shift key and doing a crossing selection. So if I go from right to left, anything that I cross will be included in the selection. If I go from left to right, it has to be completely inside that box to be added to my selection. But maybe I'll come in here, set the pivot again, pull that out. So now that I've explored this form a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and close this off. And again, closing it off, we again have two options. We can either bridge or we can weld. So let me go back to my box mode so I can see what's going on here. Let's see. I think to start out, what I'm going to do is just do a bridge. So I'll select these two faces, do the bridge, and go ahead and hit my smooth toggle. And just that easily, I made a little hole here in my model. Honestly, that hole looks a little bit funky, so I'm going to hit the tab key or the smooth toggle button, come back here, and select some of these faces. And let's see, go to my translate manipulator, bring them in and make them a lot smaller. I wonder what this flatten points command will do. Looks like that doesn't work on faces, but if I change this to control points by hitting points, if I flatten those, you can see that will flatten that out. Let's see if that makes any difference when I do the smooth toggle. Okay. So that's going to help in this out, making that a lot smaller. Our other options, again, besides doing that bridge, would be to weld. So maybe let's go ahead, do the smooth toggle, and let's see, delete these two faces. Just select those and hit delete, and then we can weld these control points together. So just like we were doing before, let's see, weld points. We'll weld this one to here, this one to here, just hitting spacebar to repeat the command. Let's go ahead and hit enter to see what this looks like, or hit the tab key so we can go back to smooth mode. Again, that's the difference between weld and bridge is that the weld will just collapse that. Let's go back to the smooth toggle and see where we're at. You pull these faces in over here. Move this guy. I think that in this case, I think the weld's giving us something that we like better. So I'm just going to do that again. So select these faces, hit delete, and then just weld these control points together. And again, the tricky part with the welding is making sure that all the points are that you don't have them that you're welding the right one to the right one, and it'll be pretty obvious at the end if your topology is flowing well. So let's take a look at this. You can see how I'm getting this nice edge curve that's going all the way around, and so that means I'm making pretty nice welds. So I'll do that one more time. Go back to box mode, hitting the tab key. I'll move these control points over so it's in a little bit better space to do the welding. Change to face mode, hit delete, and do some more welding. So weld him to him. Weld him. Again, I can't see very well, so I'm just going to more key select there and hope I got the right thing. Weld him to him and him to him. Go ahead and hit tab again. Good, and again I've got that nice iso curve going all the way down. So now that I've finished this, just looking at the shape, I mean, to be honest, I kind of like how this flows really well. And then over here where I did those bridging, I think bridge may have not been the right tool for this job. It looks, I don't really know that looks very good. So I wonder what my options are if I want to make this part look more flowy like the rest of it. Let's hit the smooth toggle and kind of see what our options are here with this T-Splines geometry. But one thing we can do is go to faces and just delete these faces. Maybe delete these faces. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can make this so it matches up well. Maybe what I want to do is fill some holes. So like maybe fill this hole in, fill that hole in, and I think what I want to do is get this face so that it kind of tucks in and merges, welds in down here. So if I do that, probably going to want to delete this face and delete this face, and then do some more welding. I'm just going to undo that because it looks like I've got that face twisted over on itself. Let's try that again. Delete those. Okay, so I'm just kind of exploring here. I'm not really sure if this is going to end up looking good, but let's try welding this guy to here. Let's try that again. This guy to here. Nope. Enter the weld command first. This guy to here. And this guy to here. Let's go ahead and hit enter and see what this looks like in smooth mode. Well, that's definitely taken some of the blockiness out of this corner. You can see how now I've got that nice smooth line going all the way across. And to be honest, I could continue doing that over in this area if I hadn't been trying to introduce the the bridge command and I just welded all these, to be honest, maybe this would have looked a little bit better. But you know what? We're exploring things, so let's see if we can get back there. So another way of combining these is just to weld. I mean, just select these two, or I want to weld one to the other, but I can just do this, weld him to him, see what happens. Thinking for a while. Okay, look at that. You can just weld that up and make a triangle face. Let me switch to box mode just so it interacts a little bit faster. Do another weld. Just weld him to him. You can see we're just kind of collapsing this face. So rather than deleting the face and then welding, we're just kind of skipping a step. So let's go ahead and hit enter and see what this looks like now. Back in smooth mode. Okay, so I'm kind of smoothing that out a little bit, getting rid of some of that geometry. I wonder what would happen if I did the same thing down here. If I welded these two together, welded these two together. Let's see what that looks like. Again, you can see we have this triangle face here, which, I mean, to be honest, you want to try and avoid those as much as possible, but you can have those in your model. So that's just a little bit of form exploration. Just introducing some things you can do to introduce or play with different things in your model. Now that we've done that, what we can come in and do is move. You just kind of play around with moving the control points around. So you can pull some of these control points down and get some nice nice variations in what these kind of little canopy things are like. So I'm just dragging control points, and you can see that surface just updates really smoothly. Let's continue to explore that form. So, and this is something we can just play with for a long time, but I want to come in and show how we can make a seat here in this part of the architectural form. So to get a seat in here, I mean, what we really need is more control points that we can pull down to make a recession, and we don't have enough right now. And actually, one of the beauties of T-Splines is that it lets you add more detail just where you need it. So there's a couple commands you can use to do this: insert point and insert edge, and they're both good commands. I think in this instance I'll use insert edge. What I'm just going to do is click along an edge where I want to insert more detail. So it'll be right here. Hit enter. And then as I mouse, sometimes it's a little bit finicky as far as where you need to mouse on, but if you mouse along one of these perpendicular isocurves, it'll show where that new edge will be put in. So I'll just click here, and you can see this is just adding a new edge into my model. And so with that new edge, all of a sudden I have enough control that I can drag this back with the manipulator and get a nice, get kind of a nice area here. Let me switch to box mode just to kind of see what the topology is looking like here. Go back to smooth mode. So if I here's kind of what we're looking like, and you can see it's all very gentle and smooth. If I wanted to make that sharper, then I could double click to select this edge that I'd inserted and insert another edge, and this time do it on both sides. And and what this has the effect of doing is almost putting a fillet in the surface, in that it kind of, as with those extra control points there. Oh, it looks like it didn't quite do that. Let's try it one more time. Okay, it's giving me an error that the resulting mesh is invalid, but let's go to box mode and see what we're looking at here. So insert edge, simple, both sides equals on. So there's different ways that we can tighten this up. One way is just to select these edges and run the weight command. So by weighting these control points to say, I don't know, 3, then that will get some tighter. The surface will pull tighter to those control points. See how that makes it a lot tighter there. Other ways of making that tighter include just adding more edges, just like we did there before. So finally, we can just convert this to NURBS to do any other operations that we need to do. And converting from T-Splines to NURBS is just a push button operation. Just right click on here, click on the T-Spline, hit enter, and you can see here all of a sudden this is just a Rhino poly surface, exactly the same shape as the T-Spline surface. So those are just introducing some T-Splines commands and ways that they can be used to make a freeform architectural form.